another credit union that we work with sponsors a music venue, and they did a ticket giveaway that was, again, they used a location for theirs, but it was come visit us at a branch, and I think 50 people be randomly selected for tickets for the show this weekend. So they put that out there on social media, and then people come to branch, and it was sort of a show your phone, show the alert, and we will give you tickets. So that
That's
was
really cool. That is very cool usage. Yeah, definitely. Welcome, everybody, to today's edition of the Credit Connection. I'm very excited to have Gregg Hammerman here today, CEO at Larky. Welcome. Why don't you give us a little background, a little intro?
awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for having me on. It's fun to be here. I am, as you said, the CEO of Larky. I went to engineering school. I don't know where to start on all this, but I'm not an engineer. I'm not a software person. I'm more of an idea person. And so I had this idea a couple of years ago that we could help credit unions better communicate with their members. And I was very, very fortunate that I had this idea, and it was a little bit of a crazy idea, and it was a little bit vague and still taking shape. And I was introduced to the great people at Filene Research Institute, and they were
Really
like,
good people. Yeah.
yes, they are. And they were super helpful in shaping the idea. And really what Larky has become is we're embedded in the mobile banking app. We're not a separate thing that people download or turn on. And we are push notification marketing. And so the big thing about push notifications is people do not have to be logged into their mobile banking app or using mobile banking. They can, I hate to say this, but it's just an honest part of life. They can not be thinking about their credit union. They can have completely forgotten about their credit union. And with our platform, a credit union has the power to pop up a message on their screen and tell them about something that's important in their financial life or otherwise, and sort of build that relationship with that member. And it's a really fun business to be involved with now. It's really exciting to see how credit unions are using our platform.
Yeah. Unfortunately, our members don't always constantly think about our credit unions.
Not always.
They might have other things in their lives, but that's a good thing when they have less to think about, especially when you're pushing notifications to them. So talk a little bit about some of the use cases that credit unions have pursued with us.
It's a great question. And we sort of let this out. We've been doing this for several years now, and we have this platform where a credit union can log into a secure portal and they can create whatever message they want. And after a little bit of time, we sort of started to look at it and analyze it a little bit, said, okay, there's really like five main things that credit unions are doing with our stuff. They all kind of go into one of these five buckets. And those buckets are really new product promotion, that, hey, we have this member, they may use a certain service with us, but we want to talk to them about a different service. And one of the other things I should be clear about, we're big fans and we help drive tailored communications. We do not say, hey, you've got 40,000 members, send them all the same message about the same thing. And so new product promotion is often based on data of, hey, these people may be looking for a car loan, and maybe you could help them get a car loan. So those kind of things. Current product expansion is the second one. That's really into the, hey, members have our debit card in their pocket, but they're not using it. And how can we get them to use a product more? So current product expansion. About a third of the messages are really just awareness, just like, hey, your credit union's here and we're ready to help and we're part of the community, and those kind of things, just sort of feel good messages. There are, it's a little less than 10% that are like community events. It's, as you know, and there's a pretty big variance with credit unions, some that are incredibly involved, and it feels like every week they're sponsoring a 5K run or music in the park or whatever. But getting messages out about those community events is a big thing. And the last one that I think it's come on a little bit more in the last 12 to 18 months is really operational announcements that are, could be, hey, the ATM at our branch on Main is down today, the next nearest ATM's over here, or there's been phishing attacks. And so, if somebody sends you a text, it's not us. A lot of the operational stuff, which, because the nature of push notifications, you can get a message out very quickly and people see it right away, and it can be very helpful in those situations.
Yeah, that's super cool. I hadn't thought about that, especially the ATM one. I think is very convenient for members in getting the message out there.
Yeah.
So any other like interesting, maybe quirky ones?
There's always the quirky ones. Like I said, people can do, they can log in and they can do all kinds of things we never planned on them doing. I wanted to, before I tell you about a couple of quirky ones, one of the other ATM down kind of situations was we worked with a credit union that they had most of their branches had longer hours on the weekend, but they had one branch that closed at noon on Saturday. And so part of what we can do is geolocation notifications. Not all of them are like that, but we had this one where they said, well, if somebody pulls into our parking lot on a Saturday, can you pop up a notification on their screen that says, hey, this branch is closed today. If you want to talk to us in person, the next nearest branch is here. And so that was a pretty cool use case of doing that. In terms of quirkiness, let's see. I don't know if quirky is the right word, but something we didn't expect. I'll say it that way.
Okay.
Let's see. Tansley Stearns, now that she's the CEO of a credit union here in Michigan, she has an awesome podcast. Despite Impossible is the name of it. If you haven't listened, or people on this
absolutely, we'll drop it in the notes too. Yep.
It's really good. But they thought, hey, we can send out a push notification to people at like a little after 5 on a weekday of, hey, are you commuting home? Are you on the ride? Want something interesting to listen to? Tap here and start listening to the Despite Impossible podcast. And one of the things about our platform is we're not just pushing a notification, we're making it so when someone taps, it routes them to a very specific place. So in their case, it could be to the link to that podcast episode. It could be to a part of the website for a credit union. It could be another community resource if they want to say, hey, we're sponsoring a 5K run, and have the link go to the registration page for that. So that was one that we saw that and like, well, that's a really cool way that they used it. I didn't think they were going to do that. Another credit union that we work with sponsors a music venue. And they did a ticket giveaway that was, again, they used a location for theirs, but it was come visit us at a branch, and I think 50 people be randomly selected for tickets for the show this weekend. So they put that out there on social media, and then people come to branch, and it was sort of a show your phone, show the alert, and we will give you tickets.
That's really cool. That is very cool usage. Yeah, definitely grabs the attention, especially of the concert goers, who I assume tend to be younger too.
True.
Depending on the concert.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah, but one of the things we were talking earlier, I was kind of really surprised about actually is the responsiveness of the members. What kind of results are you seeing? Because obviously email's dead. It's been very frustrating, and like there's so much social media marketing. It's all like a bit hit or miss. But right here, you're in their banking app.
Yes. Well, so two things. I mean, people have to give permission, right? So when you download, you can download Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever app you want to download. They usually ask you these days, this app would like to send you notifications, yes or no. And so same thing, mobile banking app, this app would like to send you notifications. We see in the high 80%, usually about 88% of members that say yes. And, we've thought about it a lot, and it's like, there's a trusted relationship there. As much as, you and I were just saying, members may not be thinking about their credit union 24/7. I think there's a lot of trust that my credit union is going to send me useful information and knowledgeable information. And we were very respectful of that. So high 80% of folks turn that on. And then when we get into those location examples, it's almost 2/3 of members that are willing to share their location with their credit union. So the messaging can be, delivered based on, hey, they're at a branch, or they want tickets to this show, or they're at a branch that's closed right now. So that piece is interesting. And then you asked really, because that's like step one. We have to be able to send somebody a message, right? But then I think what you're asking was, okay, so you send somebody a message, then how does that, what, do they respond? Right. Now, so it's a big thing for us to capture those analytics and to share those analytics with the credit unions. When you log in, a credit union client logs into their secure portal, the first thing they actually see is the analytics. Before they even can set up a nudge, as we call them, or notification, they see the analytics. And what we've found is usually it's somewhere between 7 to 10 times the response rate of email. So emails typically industry-wide are like sort of 2% open rate. We measure based on not just people seeing it, but people tapping on it and going where you want them to. And so it's pretty typical for it to be somewhere 14 to 20% of people that see a message, tap on it, and go to the place. And I will be totally honest, we've done analysis on this. We actually have a report that we publish once a quarter called the Larky Lowdown, that maybe we can post a link to that for people. Sure. It's free. Anyone can download it. But we started to do a bunch of analysis on response rates of different kinds of messages, right? And so I'm not going to call anybody out by name, but we had a credit union that wanted to promote their health savings account product. They think they were sort of in that bucket of new product promotion. Not maybe the sexiest, coolest thing. They had a pretty low tap rate, better than email by far, but still pretty low tap rate. And we've had others that we had one that was doing an operational announcement that they were issuing new debit cards. And so they had a push notification they sent out that was, I think the big headline was your new debit card from X credit union. And they got like a 25% tap rate because people seem to care a lot about a new debit card. But, like you said, emails, we definitely don't preach to our clients about don't ever use email. There's a time and place, and that's fine. Sure. What we see is, the world, it's evolving to a place where this is a very accepted communications channel that I purposely on my phone download the Panera app and the Starbucks app and the Target app and the Whole Foods app and all these. And I do say yes to permissions because I'm always super curious what they're doing and what they're communicating to folks. And, the conclusion I've reached, and we've tried to take it, company-wide, is it's not a matter of over communicating or too many messages. It's a matter of communicating things that are important to people at the time that they're important. And the example I always give is Delta Airlines. When I fly, I may get 7 or 8 push notifications from them in any day that I'm traveling. And that might sound like, oh my gosh, they're harassing you, but it's the one that, hey, your flight's going to start boarding soon. You might want to make your way to the gate, but you still got time. Don't sweat it. Hey, you're boarding soon. Your group is boarding. Hey, we scanned your bag and it's on the plane right now. Hey, your bag has been offloaded from the plane. It's on baggage carousel 3 or 4, whatever it is. And maybe it's only 5, but still a bunch of messages. And every one of them has some sort of value for me. And it helps me feel like Delta Airlines is looking out for me. So we're working with credit unions to make sure that they don't over message, but provide valuable messaging.
The right time, right data, to be able to target those members.
Yeah.
So imagining, like, I'm thinking of all this data y'all are using and the geolocation and stuff like that. In this era, you must get a lot of questions, I'm sure, about data security, member privacy, that kind of stuff. What are you hearing from credit union executives in that area?
There's lots of really good questions about it. We sort of pride ourselves as a company being at the forefront of this, that as California put out regulations, as the European regulations came out, we were watching those and seeing, is that going to flow into the US? So a couple of things. We don't store data of where somebody is 24/7. If somebody says, I'll share my location with you, the way our system really works is we're saying, okay, now if they go to the branch, because that's a place that the branch set up as a place where a notification would serve, we can tell that. But I did once have a credit union ask me if we could help them find out where somebody is to repossess a car. Like, no, we don't know. We don't want to know. That's not our business.
That would be convenient.
Maybe, but that's a different business. That's a different company, not mine. But I think it helps people understand that we're using location. If a geofence is set up, if a credit union tells us we want to talk to people in this car dealership, or when they're at our branch, or when they go to Home Depot because we want to talk to them about a HELOC or something, we store that information and we can provide that back. But we don't have the always, where I can never answer the question of where was Sarah at 2:15 in the morning on Tuesday. I don't know. So there's that piece of it.
Easy asleep, but yeah.
The other thing that it's in our privacy policy, we have all kinds of interesting data. The way our view of it is, it's really owned by the credit union. It's data about their clients, and so they have access to the data about their clients. We do not sell data. We're not a data business in that way at all. So I think that helps people understand that we're just helping credit union better communicate with their account holders and helping build that relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when it's built into the app, like you said, that's already kind of a trusted tool for the members in the credit union as well.
Yeah.
Which I think is really interesting because a lot of partners try to integrate into the core.
There's challenges on either side, but being based on where we want to communicate. Somebody made a comment I was at GAC several years ago, and they made a comment that I'd never had sort of thought of it this way, but they're absolutely right. They were saying, when digital first started to happen, be it desktop or mobile app for financial institutions probably didn't realize early enough that it was going to be their primary touch point with a lot of their members. That it really, there are a lot of people who don't set foot in a branch, and that's okay. And the credit union still wants to serve them. But, we're a part of that, really, that we're a part of that communications channel. That is the main way that a lot of people work with their financial institution. So it's a fun place to be.
Yeah, fortunately, credit unions, it seems like they're starting to pick up on more of the digital communication and creating the trust and empathy digitally that they are used to doing in branch, right? That doesn't
Yeah.
always happen today. So how accessible is this for credit unions? How accessible is Larky for credit unions? Do you have a particular size like that you generally get? What types of field of membership are there? Different things that make a good client for you, as well as good usage for the credit union.
It's a great question. I am absolutely thrilled to announce here live for the first time with you. Just kidding. Well, we just signed a new credit union in Tennessee, actually, that is less than 2,000 members. And I think it's
Nice.
a really cool thing. And it's important for us because we do have several credit unions that are like $7 billion in assets and 300,000 or 400,000 members, and we love those folks too. But we really wanted to build this so that credit union of really any size could work with us and benefit from us. And I will say, the way we're set up, the way we work with credit unions, we have client success team here. They will proactively reach out to our clients and say things like, hey, spring is here. Do you want to do a promotion that talks about this? Or is there any products, and sort of like help to get the wheels turning? And a lot of times we have sort of canned campaigns. So if there's something common, like a lot of credit unions work with us and say, can we send messages to help people convert from getting paper statements to e-statements? We have it on our website. If you could route them to the place where they tap there and do it. And so we have a lot of like canned campaigns for things like that, where a credit union with 2,000 people, we can reach out to them and say, hey, is this important to you? We'll run the campaign. Sure. If it's not, hey, well, how about these other things? But on the larger side, what we see is some of the, once you get past $1 billion or so in asset size, then there starts to be more of a strong marketing team, oftentimes business intelligence, systems going on. They want the data to be imported into their system, which we can accommodate that as well. And some really interesting ways they're sort of slicing and dicing the data and thinking about how we can all work together. So we're really pleased to be sort of broadly from less than 2,000 members to 300,000 plus. In terms of seg, I actually haven't noticed. I gotta be honest, I have not noticed a specific thing. Most of the credit unions we work with have either statewide or
Yeah.
national charter. They're not too many closed seg, but I think you could tell me if you see it differently. I think it's been more of the way it's going with a lot of credit unions generally, that there aren't as many closed seg credit unions as there were.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So
yeah, when the community charter came out, gosh, almost 20 years ago now. I'm getting old.
Was it 20 years ago?
It might have been longer. It might, I think it was late 90s maybe. But yeah, the when community charters started, yeah, definitely was quite a shift.
Yeah, it's one of the things I'm always honest with folks. I've learned a bunch, and I'm still learning a bunch about credit unions. But when I first met Filene, the only thing I knew about credit unions was my mom was a teacher, and we were a member of Teachers Credit Union, but I
Right.
didn't really know like what that meant or what that was all about. So it's been fun learning a lot and continuing to learn lots more.
Yeah, no, and that's funny because so many people just fall into it, right? It's either you're born into it or you fall into it. Like I would love to have a day where people, graduate college and we're gonna work at a credit union, right?
I think we're getting there. I mean, look at like the
Love it.
Crashers and like some of those other
Yeah,
things,
we're getting
the
there.
organizations, that there are more people that are excited about. And you know, I think it's interesting. I was involved in this discussion the last week about credit unions that do innovative things, and not just Larky, but all kinds of innovative things. And there are lots of them out there that are trying new things and trying new ways to communicate with members and trying new initiatives in their communities. I think they do have the ability to attract some people that think this is a cool place to work, and it is truly a
Yeah.
cool place to work. And I think the risk was, I don't know, it was higher, but I think when credit unions are boring, sorry, when some are or were, then it's hard to attract exciting talent that really wants to be a part of something big and exciting. But now I think there's a lot more innovation going on, and I think that attracts people. It's a good
Yeah.
cycle.
Yeah, it's super cool. And just one last thing, getting back, you mentioned the accessibility. I was asking about the accessibility part. I think it's so great that you all are willing, so many business partners not willing to work with smaller credit unions because it's just too much hassle. It's the same cost to do the same work and then not the same financial reward. So I think it's really cool that you all are doing that and making it open and available to the smaller credit unions too, because we certainly need all of them.
It's important to us. I mean, there's a lot of very large credit unions and they're fun to work with, but I think, one of our company initiatives last year was we wanted to make it really easy for people to be measurably and wildly successful pretty quickly. And so that whole idea of campaigns of like, if it's converting to e-statements or getting people to use their debit card more, honestly, they translate pretty well between a very large credit union and a pretty small one, a lot of those same situations. And so to have sort of turnkey campaigns and make it pretty much log in, push the button and hit go, and you're launching these things, it works really well for the smaller ones. And we're thrilled to be working with them.
Thank you, Greg, for your time today. Any last parting thoughts?
I thank you very much. It's fun being on, and maybe we can do it again sometime and do part 2.
Heck yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.